Good morning, and welcome to the third day of this year's training conference. Thank you again for your participation. We have another full day of interesting and informative sessions, and we urge you to take advantage of as many as you can. As a reminder, please join us tomorrow in the exhibit hall from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Eastern Time, where subject matter experts will be available to answer your questions on a variety of subjects. I also want to note that if you missed a session or want to see them again, the sessions will be posted on demand on the platform through March 3rd, 2023. Today, I'm pleased to introduce our keynote speaker, Undersecretary of Education James Kvaal. And I can say that he has had a momentous year. He has led the department's aggressive efforts to overhaul the regulations prescribing our approach to many aspects of higher education funding and delivery. He has worked to develop new initiatives on income-driven repayment plans that extend higher education affordability for students and their families. And he has played a key role in the administration's major announcement to grant up to $20,000 in student loan debt relief for borrowers who meet the income requirements and receive federal Pell Grants, and up to $10,000 in debt relief for those who meet the income requirements but did not receive Pell Grants. For Undersecretary Kvaal, this is a return engagement to the Department of Education, where he had previously served as the Deputy Undersecretary. His resume also includes time at the White House, where he was the Deputy Domestic Policy Advisor. In those earlier roles, he championed efforts to reduce monthly student loan payments, ensure accountability for post-secondary schools with excessive debts, and promote tuition-free community college. He has also held senior positions in the Congress, both in the House and the Senate. Before rejoining the department, he served as the president of the Institute for College Access and Success, a nationally recognized nonprofit focused on affordability and equity in higher education. He earned his bachelor's degree in public policy with honors from Stanford University and his Juris Doctor degree from Harvard Law School. He also taught for a time at the University of Michigan's Ford School of Public Policy. During my time here at FSA, I've come to understand that we can only be effective on issues of higher education financing by developing a close and harmonious working relationship with the Undersecretary's office. Because of James's experience and temperament, along with the excellent team he's built in that office, we've been able to meet the substantial challenges we're facing. It has been a real pleasure to work with him and his team, and we're grateful for our strong partnership. Now I'm glad to turn things over to Undersecretary Kvaal.
Thank you, Rich, for that kind introduction. We're fortunate to have someone with the right values and the right commitment to students leading FSA. I also want to recognize the incredible talent and devotion of the FSA team who go to work every day trying to improve the lives of students. I hope you all had a wonderful Thanksgiving and that you're enjoying this year's FSA training conference. When we spoke 1 year ago, our colleges and universities and the country at large were still in the grips of the pandemic, and there was great uncertainty over what the future would hold. College enrollment had fallen by 1 million students, and many struggled to meet their basic needs. President Biden acted boldly to confront this crisis, and the American Rescue Plan equipped colleges and universities with $40 billion to adapt to the pandemic and provide students with the financial lifelines they needed to stay enrolled in a time of crisis. Our financial aid administrators, counselors, and staff were instrumental in the success of this program. And many of you online with us today worked tirelessly to help students prevail over extraordinary hardships. You issued emergency financial aid, you canceled past due balances, you provided housing and food assistance and cut the cost of textbooks and more. Put simply, your extraordinary efforts made a huge difference in the lives of millions of students across the country. Thank you. Today, on campuses across America, our lecture halls, labs, and libraries are filled with college students engaging with their peers and with professors, in large part because of you. Appreciate all that you've done and will continue to do to help students pursue their college dreams. I imagine you do this work for the same reason I do and many of my colleagues at the department do, because we believe in the promise of higher education. Our colleges and universities have more potential than any other institution to help us live up to the American ideal. The promise that it should not matter what zip code you live in, what race, gender, or ethnicity you are, where your family came from, or how much money they make. If you work hard, you'll have the opportunity to succeed. The problem is that for far too long, our nation has struggled to fulfill that promise for all of our students, and especially those from low-income backgrounds, underserved communities, and communities of color. We know that the road to rewarding careers runs through our college campuses. We know that education has the power to change lives, unite communities, and build equity. And we know from years of research that a college degree remains the surest path to long-term financial security. But for more students to experience the benefits of higher education, we have to make it more affordable. I'm proud of the progress that we're making. President Biden has called for new scholarships at HBCUs and minority-serving institutions and free community college. And while those proposals stalled in Congress, states are making incredible progress. Earlier this year, we secured a $400 increase in the maximum Pell Grant award. That's the largest increase in a decade. We're also proud to have finalized rules restoring access to Pell Grants for incarcerated students because everyone deserves access to higher education. And early partners in the Second Chance program, like Walla Walla Community College, show incredible promise. We have a long way to go to restore the promise of Pell. In 1972, a Pell Grant covered nearly 80% of the cost of a four-year public college. Today, it covers only 30%. Imagine if today's low-income students could count on the same level of support provided to their parents' generation. President Biden has put forward a plan to double the Pell Grant by 2029 within a responsible budget. This would dramatically reduce reliance on student loans, especially in our communities of color. Doubling Pell is the right thing to do, and it's also economically smart. In today's economy, a high school diploma no longer guarantees entry into the middle class. We have a responsibility to make college affordable so that students can get the post-secondary credentials and degrees necessary for success in today's workforce. Investments in Pell are proven to pay off. One analysis out of Harvard University found the economic mobility created by Pell generates so much new tax revenue that the program pays for itself. Another study out of Texas found that larger Pell Grant awards are correlated with higher graduation rates and higher incomes upon graduation. Restoring our federal commitment to the Pell Grant and working with our colleagues at the state level to encourage greater investments in college affordability will go a long way to keeping student debt down. However, for those who must borrow in order to pay for college, we must also make sure that student debt does not undermine the fundamental bargain of college, that investing in higher education pays off. President Biden's pause on student loan payments and interest has been a welcome reprieve during the pandemic, and the average borrower has saved more than $5,000 thanks to that payment freeze. But we can never return to the pre-pandemic status quo. Before the pandemic, nearly 1 million students defaulted every year, and there were disturbing racial disparities. Today, more than 7.5 million borrowers have a loan in default. That's about 1 in 6 student loan borrowers. Nothing good comes out of loan default. It drives borrowers already facing financial hardships into an even deeper hole. Low-income workers can find their wages garnished and lose tax benefits like the EITC and the child tax credit, which have become essential in the fight against poverty. Seniors can see portions of their Social Security checks seized. Default also damages borrowers' credit scores, drives up the cost of mortgages, credit cards, and other forms of credit. Poor credit can also impact borrowers' rental applications and even their employment prospects. And of course, people with poor credit are often steered into riskier financial products that leave them deeper in debt. By and large, borrowers who default on their student loans are people who have been failed by broken policies and lagging investments in college affordability. They are first-generation college students, former Pell recipients, and students of color. They are parents and full-time workers trying to get a better job to support their children. Many of them dropped out of college before they completed their degrees due to the cost. Others were driven into debt by dishonest schools that sold them empty promises. These borrowers provide the most compelling evidence that we need fundamental change. We need policymakers at the state and federal level to make new commitments to affordability. And we must build a student loan repayment system that is more affordable and more accountable. When we arrived at the department, many of our loan forgiveness programs were so riddled with red tape that eligible borrowers were locked out of relief. The Biden-Harris team has worked hard to fix those injustices and make sure that borrowers who are eligible for relief actually get it. Already, we've approved nearly $48 billion in relief for 1.9 million borrowers. They include disabled borrowers who are eligible for relief, but no one bothered to provide it until now. Students cheated by their for-profit colleges whose borrower defense claims went ignored until now. Borrowers who paid their loans for 25 years but never had their balances discharged until now. Teachers, nurses, social workers, and other public servants denied public service loan forgiveness until now when we've streamlined the program. We're proud of this incredible progress, and we've issued new regulations to make our loan discharge programs work better for the long haul. These programs are worth running well. They cancel entire loans, and they'll protect past, present, and future borrowers. Here's the bottom line. When payments resume, we want borrowers to succeed, and that's why we're giving borrowers trapped in default a fresh start so they can regain access to financial aid, complete their degrees, and succeed in life. That's why we're limiting the use of interest capitalization and protecting borrowers from snowballing student loan balances. That's why just over a week ago, we proposed a new income-driven repayment plan that will save borrowers thousands of dollars a year and, for many, cut their monthly payments in half. Lower payments means fewer borrowers defaulting on their loans and more borrowers making progress toward eventual forgiveness, because student debt is not supposed to be a life sentence. All of these efforts complement the student debt relief plan President Biden announced in August, which would discharge up to $20,000 in debt for 40 million low and middle income borrowers. As all of you know, the President's plan is now tied up in courts, but we're not giving up. We continue to believe in the legal merits of our decision, and we've already appealed these court decisions. We think we're in the right. We think we have the authority to ease borrowers' transition back into repayment with debt relief, and we have complete confidence that the Department of Justice will make our case and make it well. In the meantime, we're holding on to the application information we've already collected from 25 million borrowers. When President Biden announced the debt relief plan, he made clear that we need both affordability and accountability in the student loan programs. In recent years, we've learned that many borrowers defaulting on their loans were driven into debt by for-profit career schools like Corinthian and ITT Tech that systemically lied to students about job placement rates and even the accreditation of their programs. That's why we're strengthening oversight and accountability. We've revitalized FSA's enforcement office. We've finalized regulations to crack down on some of the worst predatory behavior. And next year, we'll be pursuing changes to make sure that the programs offered by career schools deliver real value to students and prepare them for success in their chosen fields. We're also strengthening our ability to recover the cost of discharged student loans because taxpayers shouldn't be on the hook when institutions engage in misconduct. And we're going to make sure that students know before they take out loans if their college has a track record of abuse. These efforts build on the improvements we made to the college scorecard earlier this year, and we want parents, guidance counselors, advisors, and researchers all to have access to the key metrics about which colleges are delivering student success, or have inclusive student bodies, and which ones are falling behind. No one who goes to college to earn a degree or certificate should be left worse off for pursuing a higher education. Every week, I read letters from borrowers about the challenges they are experiencing. Their stories are a constant reminder that the work we do and that you do matters. It mattered before the pandemic, it mattered during the pandemic, and it matters right now when we're trying to get students to re-enroll and pushing for new investments to lift graduation rates, reduce student debt, and achieve more equitable outcomes. As financial aid administrators, you know this work better than anyone. You understand the challenges students face. You're often the last line of defense between a student dropping out or staying in school. You have a tremendous impact on the lives of students, and we need your continued input and engagement. The Biden-Harris administration is determined to harness higher education's potential for equity and upward mobility. With your help, we can build a higher education system that's more inclusive and more affordable than ever before. Thank you for all that you do, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference.